Welcome to the BatYard's finest podcast, giving you the finest of Batman and Superman in pop culture. My name is Benjamin David from the Above and Batman Beyond podcast. You might know me from there. And I have with me...
I am Josh from BatYard Productions.
And I'm Dan from the very same place.
What's up, Josh and Dan from the very same place?
Not much. We're just having a very sway day, and we're ready for this first episode. It's an exciting time for all of us.
Yeah.
First episodes are fun. I like them. I've had several podcasts now, and first episodes are fun. All right, so to give you guys listeners or viewers of the show, first of all, if you are a viewer of the show, you can find it in long form, full episodes on the BatYard Productions YouTube channel. And then you'll also be able to find the same place where you find my podcast, the Above and Batman Beyond podcast. You can find video clips of this same show that you're listening or watching to now on my channel there, and that's going to be the Comic Book INTL network. So just search for Comic Book INTL, subscribe there, and subscribe to BatYard to get those episodes and clips. So other than that, the audio version, if you're a listener of the show, you might have found our SoundCloud clip. You might have found us through iTunes. You can get us either place, SoundCloud, iTunes, or comicbookintl.com, and that's where you can find it through a website.
You can find us on Facebook.com. / BatYard Productions, Instagram, BatYard Productions.
Nice, yeah, and you can find me at Benjamin of David on Instagram, or at Batman Beyond Podcast on Instagram, and then on the Twitters and the Twitterverse, you can find me at Batman Beyond POD.
All right.
Cool.
And we both have TeePublic website. So.
Yeah, let's plug our merch shit. So talk about your stuff.
So we got TeePublic, BatYard Productions / the user / BatYard Productions, and I know you just set it up your own.
I did, yes, for the Above and Batman Beyond podcast. Got some shirts, got some tees. I got some baseball shirts that with the red, the sleeves of the baseball, because it's like, you know, the two-tone, the white with then the red, goes with the Above and Batman Beyond logo, since, you know, the Batman Beyond logo is red, in case you're not familiar. So those look really cool. There's pillows. TeePublic's awesome, man. They can make anything. Mugs, pillows, fucking phone cases. So what stuff do you guys have on yours?
We have a bunch of different artwork that we accumulated for our fan film Batman v Superman, The World's Finest, actually. That's what it's called. And we just got different artworks from different artists, like for showing like different scenes and different interpretations. Dan actually has one with the Scarecrow that he personally drew himself.
Whoa.
And
and the Red Town, which is a character group that we created for our movie itself. And there's a bunch of different other things like Superman, mostly DC Comics. There's a few there's a dinosaur I drew. That's the newest one. Yeah. There's a dinosaur.
A dinosaur?
Yeah, it's like a raptor, like foaming blood out of its mouth. So
I think I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Good work. And, you know, proceeds go to, if you are a fan of BatYard, it's work. What they do takes time, takes effort. Not to say that, you know, they're going to be, you know, making it rain with your money here. It's just to support the very hard work that they're putting in to you know, the passions. And same with what I'm doing. You know, as much as I love it, I feel a huge reward with what I do, but it takes time. And let's be real, like, you guys spend money too on the shit that you make, right?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
So
this baby.
As we were just talking about before recording, being a nerd ain't free, correct?
It really ain't. Ain't. You want the merch? You gotta cough up.
That's right.
Any franchise.
All right, cool. So yeah, in the show, the things that we're gonna hit, at least today and in general, I thought DC pop culture news. So anything from comics to movies to animated stuff, whatever's coming out, that would be fun to cover. Because I was telling these guys before recording, I don't get to talk about DC news, and I guess I should say I decide not to talk about it and focus on interviews and letting conversations kind of go organically. That's that format. This one, I want to hammer out news. I fucking love talking about DC news and new stuff that comes out. So we're going to hit news will be one of them. And then part of news, a little after that, we got to, if we have a show that has the word bat in it, we can't not cover The Dark Knight's 10th anniversary. So we're going to hit The Dark Knight. Not too long. We're not going to do a whole commentary track on it. We're not going to do probably even more than 10, 15 minutes. I don't know, unless you guys want to. But we just want to commemorate The Dark Knight. And, yeah, it's a very important film, obviously. After that, we're going to hit The Death of Superman, which was an animated film that just came out from Warner Brothers Animation, if you haven't been keeping track. It was pretty good. We talked about it beforehand as well. We thought it was some great action and some other stuff. Was it perfect? Maybe not. So we'll get into that as well. Yep. And then finally, we'll recap some stuff from Comic-Con, since this is the first show post-Comic-Con. Obviously, Comic-Con was a few weeks ago, and by the time this is out, it might seem like it's irrelevant, but it's kind of not. A lot of news dropped, and, you know, the stuff that it has been developing ever since is totally worth coming up with. So, yeah, to start off with the news, the hardest part of making the show, as they say on the Fat Man on Batman podcast, is going on the internet and looking up news and fucking talking about it, right? So let's really rack our brains here and talk about stuff. Recently, I'd say what's on my mind is the one of 55,000 Joker movies that DC Films has been putting out.
Yeah. That is, yeah.
What is the most recent thing? I heard Joaquin Phoenix or something.
Yeah, that's the only information I really know is Joaquin Phoenix. It's going to be.
There's actually one piece of news that's dropped since that I found pretty interesting. And speaking of podcasts, being our first podcast, Mark Maron, podcaster Mark Maron from the WTF podcast, is going to be in the movie. They haven't announced his involvement exactly, what he's going to do, but fucking podcaster Mark Maron, who is this bitter, like, if you haven't heard his show, he constantly talks about how, and admitted too, when he announced it himself on his show, as I was reading the transcript of it, he was like, I talk about almost every episode of my show how not only film, but pop culture in general is being homogenized and watered down by these fucking superhero movies. Like, he shits on superhero movies. And then he's like, well, oh, maybe you guys, I don't know, I didn't hear you mention it, but De Niro is also confirmed for that movie as well.
Oh, you know, I did see an image of that. I didn't know if that was like fans speculating, like, oh, I love it, De Niro.
Yeah,
but like, I wonder if he's going to be like other figure. I wonder how that's going to work out. I hope it's not.
Which one is this?
Yeah, so to backtrack to give everyone like full perspective here. What we're talking about right now is that, and why I said 55,000 Joker movies is to make a joke, the same joke that the whole internet's been making of just like pick a really high number. That's the amount of number of movies that, like, there's the Jared Leto Joker movie that's apparently been confirmed. But what we're talking about right now is the Todd Phillips is the guy who directed The Hangover. He is directing a new Joker movie, and they're talking about how it's most likely to be an origin-type movie. Martin Scorsese originally was attached to it when it was first announced a while ago, but now I'm not hearing his name attached to it anymore, but who has also been confirmed is Joaquin Phoenix and fucking Robert De Niro, and most recently, Mark Maron.
I wonder.
So what do you guys think? Mark Maron's also a comedian. Before I proceed, one thing to keep in mind, if we're talking about Joker origins, we're talking about a guy, possibly a Killing Joke story. Killing Joke is the big fucking classic comic of Joker's origin. He was a comedian, a stand-up comedian. So there could be some Mark Maron, like, working as a comedian. What do you guys think?
I'm curious to hear about that because, like you were saying before with, like, Scorsese and, like, he may be attached to it. I wonder if that's how they got De Niro in because of, their relationship they have, throughout their film.
Yeah, but also if they're going down the route of it being, like The Killing Joke, there's a lot of like mafia stuff, and De Niro is known for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Oh, he could be the fucking head of the Red Hood gang, dude. De Niro.
Oh, that would be dope. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have De Niro in the movie, you definitely want you use him as much as possible. It's a big name, So like, I don't think he's just gonna be in it for like one or two scenes of the movie. I think he'll be, utilize that actor as good, as much as possible. And Joaquin Phoenix is a very solid actor. I never really seen him in anything bad.
Who is he playing?
He's the Joker.
He's the Joker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's like a cliche, or like they're trying to chase after Heath Ledger, because these are actors known for like these crazy roles and really getting into it, committing themselves to it. And when you think about Heath Ledger, you also kind of think of Joaquin Phoenix,
Right. You do. I mean, they definitely you kind of get a similar vibe. I just hope it's not terrible. Like the new Venom movie trailer or whatever that's coming out, like that just like I have no interest in that at all.
That looks like total shit to me, yeah.
It's just like a standalone Venom movie. Like it just seems like DC's spectrum of the same kind of format. Like let's take a famous villain and just put him in a movie by himself. Like no, that's not like what I kind of want out of the character. The fun out of those characters is a dynamic relationship between the heroes.
Great point. Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that this movie's even happening character-wise, story-wise, DC Universe-wise. Like you just said, dynamics of a small character named fucking Batman, who I haven't heard a word about in this film.
Yeah.
How interesting is Joker to you guys? And I don't want to put words in your mouth because obviously it doesn't sound appealing to me. But a Joker origin story, how do you guys feel?
Well,
I don't care.
That. I know that in Suicide Squad, they shot a whole bunch of Joker stuff,
right?
And I feel almost like they wish that they just kept that movie just Joker or something.
He should have been the main antagonist for sure.
Yeah. I feel almost like they're wanting to make this movie that's just Joker because they almost did it before. Maybe they're going to try it out,
Well, the problem with what you're saying there, though, is that they've also confirmed Jared Leto for another Jared Leto fucking Joker movie.
Yeah, that's confusing.
So you can't say that they're course correcting with the fucking with what's his name if they're putting out another one of something that. So you can't say they're course correcting with the Todd Phillips one if they're also doing like I would agree that maybe they're like all right, so we fucked up a little bit, and I completely be on board with what you're saying, and that's what I thought at first, and then they confirmed this shit, and I'm just like, what?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
It just sounds like they're taking whatever they have at this point because pretty much the cinematic universe been kind of failing, and they're just like throwing whatever that sticks to the wall. Like, oh, well, maybe the cinematic universe stuff isn't working. Let's like take individual stories and just see how that works. And it just seems like they're kind of scrambling to catch up to Marvel. Basically.
I don't have a problem, but see, that's the thing though. I think they've been scrambling to catch up with Marvel. I think this is the first movie where they're going, you know what? Fuck Marvel. Fuck that formula. We can't, or it's not fuck Marvel, but fuck us trying to be Marvel because we can't and we're failing.
Yeah, they're just doing it terribly.
But it's weird to me that the first time out you try to do something that's not part of the cinematic universe is the character we want the least to see a solo movie of.
That's kind of true.
And also a solo movie.
Who wanted a solo movie? By the way, never saw it. I haven't seen it. Obsessed with Star Wars. Haven't seen it.
It was actually a fun time. I actually give that movie a pass.
You can watch our review of it.
Yeah, you can check out a review on our YouTube page.
So I wanted to say that they Marvel did this with Quicksilver. There's two versions of Quicksilver out there and that you see at the theaters. There's the Fox continuity and then there's the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And that was confusing for people in the audience. They're like, who is this guy? It's the same character? What? And so for this being like a main character, two of them, I think that's going to be even more confusing.
Yeah. Like if they're going to try to do stories that aren't connected to the DC universe, do something that's like fantastical, like do like Superman Red Sun, where like that has nothing to do with like the whole cinematic universe because it's like Superman landing on Soviet Russia and it's a completely different story. You'll understand that from the get-go. You're like, oh, this is Superman if he was Russian, instead of just making a Joker movie and just kind of confusing the audience. Like, what is this? I don't know. Do you like this? I don't know. It's just like everyone's kind of thrown off by this movie, and I feel like that's the vibe all the fans are kind of giving off. It's like, what?
The Miles Morales Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse movie that's coming out by Sony, that's sort of like, it's out there, and you won't get it confused with.
Well, because that's an animated movie, so like you could totally get that. There's definitely like somewhat of a disconnection from.
So there's a way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's a way to do it. I don't think. I agree that if there's any problems with confusion, I think the market confusion issue that needs to be addressed with them is, once again, most people didn't like your last Joker.
Yeah.
So then why are you going like, and then if you're gonna say, well then fuck the whole universe, fine with me, great, I haven't been a fan personally. Yeah. So I get it, and financially for them, they're Warner Brothers. They know how to make money. They've been printing money forever. They are not making the money they should be making, close to the money they should be making. And it's been affecting business, and heads have rolled at the executive level because of it. So I get the kind of like, all right, well now we'll just be patrons, like patrons of the arts. We'll stay out of people's way. If they want to make a Joker solo movie, go ahead. But I still think they're not... Like, who wanted the Joker solo movie? And why after, if you fucked up the Joker last time and people didn't like it, then if you do want to throw it out, why are you then apparently continuing it now? It's like, I don't know. I just, and maybe the Jared Leto thing aside, maybe that's not even like, maybe that's inconsequential to this, but just going back to the character, I don't know. I personally, I don't need to know his origin. I think Killing Joke is a cool book. But of all the movies to make, I think that's the final thing I'll say, at least, about this is a problem I'm having with a lot of movies. And you brought up Venom, and I think it's a perfect analogous project of just like, of all the movies you could be making right now,
right,
this is what you're fucking giving us?
Yeah.
This makes no sense.
I know in the Rebirth, they're like kind of hinting at there's like 3 different Jokers from like 3 different universes. I actually haven't caught up to Rebirth yet. I'm still on the New 52, so I'm pretty behind on that. But like I know they're hinting at that. I don't know if they're trying to do that like the multiverse, kind of hinting at that. Like if they're trying to do it like hint at that at some point.
Well, they're calling it DC Black. Like it's a separate. It's a sub production company. Or I should say sub-label to avoid market confusion, apparently. And it's called something along the lines of DC Black or DC Dark, which both of them terrible names because now DC fans are thinking the DC Dark universe, which is Swamp Thing and Zatanna, whatever the fuck. They're calling it something different. They're putting some darker label on it. So I don't know if the confusion thing is a problem. I just think it's like of all your properties, dude, you got DC Comics sitting there. This is what you're fucking making. and the other, I guess, I can't stop talking about this, but what do you guys think too about like the darkness level too? I mean, don't you think people are sick of darkness? Does a Scorsese tone, even if Scorsese's not involved, if he set up this project, let's say, and Todd Phillips is directing, yeah, maybe some comedy, maybe some, but it sounds pretty dark to me, a Joker origin story. Do people want more of that? Like, does that sound like a movie people want? Again, it's just like...
I feel like with the DC universe, it needs to kind of get more lighthearted. Like, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about, like, the Shazam trailer that, like, looks, like, a little more lighthearted and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into it now. Fuck it. Let's talk about
it. Well, before we move on, I just wanted to give a shout-out to... James Monarch, a cosplayer. You can look him up on Instagram. He does a great Jared Leto Joker.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
Sweet.
Right after the show.
James Monarch. Yeah. Keep cosplaying, dude. I love the look of him. I didn't have a problem with Leto or even the look, like a gangster Joker. I think a lot of that, yeah. Maybe I didn't necessarily want to get into that, but
I
think we can move on to Shazam.
You want to move on? Okay, fine. All right, we're going to Shazam.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so there was a Shazam trailer that dropped during San Diego Comic-Con 2 weeks ago about, and yeah, let's talk about it.
So Shazam, is that Billy Batson?
Billy Batson, yeah.
Okay, so I said it right.
It's the guy from the Spy Show.
What's Spy Show?
The Spy Show, man.
Yeah, he's from the Spy Show.
Spy Kids?
I don't know. But No, I think this is kind of DC's like little like hidden Easter egg. They're kind of like, well, if everything else fails, we still got this like this other movie kind of like hidden in the back. Like if like it seems like the tone that they're going for is more kind of more. I don't want to say Marvel-esque, but it does seem more lighthearted and kind of towards that direction generally. And I think it's kind of what fans wanted from the get-go is just like, I mean, obviously Batman's a dark character and like keep Batman as Batman, but we don't need every hero to Batman. It's a nice. We want the contrast between different heroes. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah. I like that. Going off what we just talked about, why it was a perfect transition to get into both of these new trailers being Aquaman and Shazam in terms of tonal shifts and moving away from the darkness that is the DCEU thus far. That cinematic universe has been fucking depressing, and then Justice League was just, let's just forget that happened pretty much. Or not. I don't know how you guys felt. But anyway, it's like if you got these two new movies that are whatever you felt about those movies prior, you have a new tone. You have two new movies that have a very different tone, and they're both much so I like that that's happening. DC can also sell the shit out of a trailer. It looked good to me, but it also had some stuff in it that they leaned too hard, in my opinion, into like the corniness of it. Like the kid, I'm buying the kid 100%. And when I see him, and it's not just because he's got a shiny lightning bolt on his suit. That's fine with me if they did that a certain way. But like people were like, "Oh, no, those are just the set shots." When the pictures were first released of the suit like a couple months ago, people were shitting all over how bad the suit looked on the internet. Then the trailer dropped, and I don't know how anybody else felt. Actually, I do. It looked the same to me. So I don't know what that's about. He looks like a guy who's not nearly as jacked as he really is in a puffed out suit. And it's like not even a good cosplay. Honestly, if I saw someone, he would lose all the cosplay contests at like Mini-Con, Kansas, this motherfucker. Like, I don't get at all what that's about. So visually, I have a problem with the suit. And I also have a problem with, and I don't even think it's casting. I think he's fine. It's just what they decided to do with this actor, Zachary Levi, as him. I buy the kid. I like the idea. The pitch of the movie, Big meets Superman. I think that's a great fucking idea for a movie. I would watch the hell out of it. But I think they leaned way too hard into like, oh man, I'm a kid in a big guy's body. What do I do with this fucking body? I mean, if you were a kid in a big guy's body, you would be all about it. You would be way more testosterone driven than you ever were. You'd be like, yeah, I got fucking muscles, and you'd be smashing shit, and you'd be going crazy. There wouldn't be this like, little test fucking, I don't know. There's just some corny like, what do I do with these big muscles? They are going like, it seems to me like too much course correction of, hey, these movies were way too dark. Now we want to go super light. And it kind of feels like what they did with Justice League. A little bit of just like, Batman's making a joke because we're trying to tell you he is, even though no one's laughing. It's like, that's not a joke if no one laughs. Right? So I don't know. It seems like there's some artificial stuff in there that I'm not liking so much. I don't like the suit. I do like the pitching of the movie again, and I like the kid, Billy Batson. What do you guys think?
Dan, I know you had a few points about cosplay versus.
When cosplayers can do a better costume than a film that has a huge budget, that's ridiculous. What? Just get a cosplayer to do it then. At that point.
Yeah, they want someone who can act. You never know what you're gonna get with a cosplayer, I guess. But
a cosplayer can make the costume for a professional.
Right.
Actor,
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do agree with you. It is kind of like a lot of course correction, but like at the same time, I do like. It feels like I hope that they do different tones for different movies.
Absolutely,
totally different things, but like you can see them connecting in the same universe.
Yeah.
Which and he does. You're right. He does look like he's like in a fake kind of tough muscle.
I mean,
suit.
the actor. What I was saying earlier is Chuck. That's the spy show that I was talking about. And he was sort of like a wimpy guy in like this manly world of spies and like all of this. And so when I saw the pictures of him, I was like, is that Chuck? Like the wimpy guy? This is weird.
The wimpy guy in that spy show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I mean I thought the kid from what the heck is the clown movie was that It?
Yeah.
Why can't I think of the name? I thought the kid from It. I thought when they were showing like images like he was being casted, I thought he was going to be Billy Batson. And then like when I saw the trailer, also I was like kind of thrown off. I was like, oh, he's not him.
I know. Why not?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, that kid, that actor's like at least known through through the It, movie
Stranger Things.
And
isn't that it? Was it the kid from Stranger Things that was in It that they were thinking about?
Well, I know the kid, the kid in Stranger Things, he was in It, but it's not the one who has the crutches.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That is him. Huh.
He was the one who had the placebos and everything. I forgot his character name, but yeah, I thought he was going to be Billy Batson. And apparently, I guess he wasn't. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I just thought he was going to be because his name is kind of bigger now since he was in that movie and now it's pretty successful and everything like that. So it just threw me off a little bit,
Yeah.
But I don't mind the kid actor. I just haven't seen him in anything previously. And
so. I really love the idea that you got. And they were talking about this on other podcasts. They made a good point. I forget which podcast it was, but your guy in the chair. So remember Spider-Man Homecoming? He's like, I can be your guy in the chair.
Yeah.
So the guy in the chair is the superhero's person, listening in, who's on the computer while you're fighting crime. You don't have time to look up maps and fucking, building plans and whatever. It could be Oracle from Batman. It could be Alfred from Batman. It could be, name it. But the guy in the chair is, what's his name? In this is that kid with the crutches, which is interesting because he's a real life superhero fan. He's a fan of Batman and he's got a fucking Batarang in his room. And I was like, that to me was nice.
Yeah, he was wearing like a Batman T-shirt at one point. I think he wears a Superman T-shirt in the trailer. So yeah, it was cool that to have a fan within the movies, and it's nice to have a kid perspective of this superhero universe because it's been so dark and I feel like it's just been overly dark. Originally these stories, these characters were made for kids, and I think producers or whoever's making it is like, oh, they want it to be serious. We have to have it I mean, I understand that, but you kind of have to have a happy medium.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of the popularity of this DC stuff. I feel like people loved it in the 80s. When it was on Hanna-Barbera and everything, like the Super Friends.
Right.
And that was so corny and so cartoony and childish, but everyone loved it, and they were so popular.
Yeah, so even at its corniest and potentially worst, you still get really good, fun shit that people like.
Yeah, people love it.
Exactly. When you put a character like Superman in an ultra realistic world, it just doesn't work. I don't think it works at all, to be honest, because it's just this fantastical character.
Yeah.
And I mean, he definitely has some human elements and everything like that. But when you make it ultra realistic, when you have Neil deGrasse Tyson on the newsreel talking about him, this is not where we live. I don't understand what kind of world or universe they're trying to make anymore. It's just are we here? Are we there? I don't know what they're trying to do. It's just throwing me off.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right, so I guess we could talk about Aquaman, but it is maybe we could, since we just hit one of the more recent movies, to avoid getting caught up with Comic-Con news. There'll be developments with Aquaman. Aquaman's coming soon, so maybe we could hit Aquaman next episode. I'm sure there'll be more stuff that is developed then.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. That's completely fine.
I just wanted to mention I saw on the Hollywood Reporter that Ruby Rose is playing she's playing Batwoman in one of the DC crossover on the TV.
On like the CW or something.
Yeah.
Wait, so who is playing what? I'm sorry. Ruby Rose? Who's Ruby Rose?
Ruby Rose. She plays one of the characters on Orange is the New Black. She's really badass. She's well known for
Which one is she on Orange?
She's Ruby Rose, man.
Oh, like that's her name on the show is Ruby?
A lot of tattoos. I don't know.
Oh, I'm trying to think because I love that show. I'm trying to think if I remember who.
She's playing Batwoman or Batgirl in a crossover episode or something.
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
doing Batwoman. Yeah.
Yeah, is that it then?
Yeah, they're doing Batwoman on the CW. We're gonna get like a Flash in the Arrowverse. We're getting Batwoman.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's right.
So if Batwoman is in the universe, is there a Batman? Does he exist? I know they like name drop Batman in the Arrow. Like they don't name drop Batman specifically. They say Bruce Wayne. I know he says Bruce Wayne.
But apparently, I have heard. I don't watch Arrow, but I have heard that on Arrow they have said the word Batman.
Okay. Yeah, I knew he says Bruce Wayne. I didn't know if he said Batman or not. So that's interesting. I wonder how they'll get around that. Like like appears or not. Like how that works.
Yeah, I do know. There's a couple things on that topic. So like they have a few of their main titles that are just locked down cinematically, which I don't understand why exactly they do that with Batman. Maybe it's to protect at least one of their properties, but I thought, all right, so to start over, there's Batman villains and characters in the from Gotham City, let's say, that they are not allowed to get into to a certain extent on those shows.
Right.
Like, they can't just be like, all right, Riddler's showing up in Central City. Like, that's not going to happen. Whereas, Clock King, that's a Batman villain. He's shown up. Fucking Batman 66 villain who was on the animated, so like ridiculous villain. And they made Clock King believable. I was like, this is incredible. That like those shows really have their moments. Again, I don't really watch them anymore, but the point is that they're not allowed to touch certain properties. They did Superman. They had Superman on there. I thought that was pretty good. What did you think of that?
They had him on the Supergirl show.
Yeah.
And I watched the pilot of the Supergirl show. I don't have a problem with it. It's just not, made for me. That's the only thing. And then I just skipped forward and I watched the Superman episodes, and I do like his portrayal. I think it's like Tyler or something like that. I forget the actor's name, but I thought he did a pretty good job, and he actually smiled, and he was bumbling. He was bumbling Clark. That's what I miss from my Superman. That's what I need.
Yeah.
I need more of that in the DC universe. And I think Henry Cavill is a great actor, very charismatic, and I think he's totally, he has it within him to be a perfect grand Superman, and they just need to bring that out, So, yeah.
It's a good question. I mean, because if everyone's talking about that, this is the question everybody has, and you can't dance around it. Like, if the word bat is in the title of the show, we have got to get more references. You can't just keep going like, Bruce, you know who fucking designed this cape for me. Like, come on.
Maybe they'll just be watching The Dark Knight, like, in the background. That's like the cameo you'll get, like, oh, watch this movie. I don't know how they'll work around
So this is badass. You know why it's pretty awesome that this Ruby Rose woman is, because I don't know if you're aware, but the character of Batwoman is openly gay.
Yeah.
I knew that I don't know anything really about Batwoman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
Like,
her name is Carol Kane. I think it's Carol Kane. It's Kane either way is the last name. Her father is in the military, and so she grows up as like a brawler, daughter of a soldier and shit, and does something very similar to what Batgirl does, which is like gains the knowledge and resources from the police department of her father being Commissioner Gordon, but in this case, she has like the military background. So she's real scrappy. She's a badass. super fucking hot, and she's a lesbian. So it's a great character. And if they do like a tattooed Orange is the New Black fucking Batwoman, I am in, dude. Like, yes, I'm in. That intrigues me a lot more than because those shows, the problem I have with those shows is like they're kind of on a weird extreme of not going like dark enough. Well, I feel like the DCEU is way too dark, and I feel like those shows, maybe darkness isn't even the word. It's just like they hit the same formula now on all of them over and over, in my opinion. It's just like you keep giving us the Buffy version of it's the same structure of like what made Buffy so successful and what all these shows are based on, and what I think every one of those shows should exist, but they should do like 3 seasons of each and move the fuck on with a totally different way of doing it. You know what I mean? Like, give us the Buffy version of all of those characters, 3 seasons each, and then let's get the Black Mirror version. Let's get the whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I just think that like it will be, I think, something potentially cool, because it's obviously cooler in my opinion because it's fucking Batman. And then you have the gay thing too, which is again interesting because they said that'll be the first openly gay superhero character on TV. And then she's a fucking badass, so I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, do you know when that first episode is being released?
Sorry, I think it'll be cool for 3 seasons exactly. That's what I think.
Should just stop after that.
That's it.
Do you know when the first episode will be aired?
Yeah, so they're doing what has been announced is that she will first appear in a crossover, not a solo project. So it'll be a crossover in December on one of the shows.
You know which one?
I don't.
Yeah, I think it's a tie-in with all of them. Arrow is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be part of their 75 show part crossovers that they have now.
That's right.
Do you watch Gotham at all? I'm
No.
curious thoughts about that.
I'm sorry. I hate to react that way, but
because I know you're like all about Batman. I was just curious if you still watched it.
it is a great question. It's a necessary question to ask me. The answer is no.
I gave up after season 2. That's when I stopped watching.
That's about the same chance I gave it.
I really enjoyed the first season. I liked the whole mob mentality, and then like it just kind of got too overboard with me. And then, you know what killed it for me was the Mr. Freeze origin. You know, he had like the white hair, and then the whole point of Mr. Freeze is that he's a sympathetic villain, and he's trying to save his wife throughout the whole series. And then like out of like some misunderstanding, the wife like gives Victor Freeze like a different freeze ray or gun or whatever to keep her alive, and then she dies. And I'm like, well, I don't care about this character anymore.
Wait, what? That's what they
did that to Mr. Freeze.
Wait, Nora Freeze is dead on Gotham.
Yeah, that's like that's when first introduced him too. That was the first episode with him. And then they killed Nora Freeze that episode. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm done with this show. You know, that's what killed it for me, was that whole origin. They completely smashed it and destroyed it.
It's just so, it's like Smallville is fun because of how corny it is. So when it's something serious in tone as Batman and with all those characters that you love, you know, it can't be corny. It can't be that corny. It needs to be different.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was corny. It was just like written weird. I think
what's strange, and I think the biggest problem is that you're both right. That's the problem. Is that you have one show called Gotham, and it's 25 fucking shows from what I can tell.
Right. Exactly.
It's like you go from I agree, weird, corny tone and humor where you're like almost Batman 66 level shit.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, oh, cool, okay. And then all of a sudden someone, I forget who I was interviewing a couple weeks ago, it's like it goes from Batman 66 to the next scene is a guy getting his eye dug out with a fucking spoon.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's
I mean, anybody who's impressed by that, I don't like, dude, we're Like, shock value still does it for you. Watch The Walking Dead. If you want shock value, if you want like the same thing over and over of just gore, then watch. Or actually, unfortunately, one of those seasons that I watched was not a lot of fucking action at all. But anyway, it's like, don't tell me that show is badass because it's graphic. That doesn't make anything good. And then it really doesn't make it good. I also just don't want it. Number 2, I don't need it in a Batman story. I don't need when in Batman v Superman. Not only was it when he was killing people, but just like some of the fucking, even like my favorite scene of that movie when he's fighting in like that Arkham warehouse scene when he's saving Martha Kent. Crazy, amazing Batman that we've never seen. To this day, I will say that's the best live action fucking Batman fighting that we have ever gotten, hands down. And then he takes one of the guy's knives, shoves him into a wall, and fucking stabs the guy right in the chest. And I'm just like,
in the heart or the shoulder? That's like, I know there's like a skepticism. Like,
yeah, apparently it was the shoulder, but
I don't know.
It doesn't matter because he killed a bunch of people before that. But that aside, it's just like I don't want, and I didn't mean to get into that movie. I don't need that level of like, and if you are going to do that level of brutality, then sell the show to me as like, call it like Dark Gotham or call it fucking do a Dark Knight Returns show. I don't care. Like, it's got to be like Frank Miller can pull off Batman with gore, because when I open a Frank Miller book, I know that from front to back, you're getting some fucked up dark Batman. And that show does not do the front to back formula.
Yeah, like Frank Miller kind of got like slowly more and more crazy as he kind of progressed throughout his career.
And I'm not a fan of it. I don't like my Batman that dark personally.
Like, yeah, I think the only story I could really think that works with that is Dark Knight Returns, because he's an older Batman. He's been through so much and everything, and he's a weaker state. And I know he tried to do sequels of that character in the same place. It just got weird, and like it just did not work. Like, I know, it picks up. I think it's like there's like a prequel. It's like when the origin of Robin with Dick Grayson, and he forces Robin into the Batcave, and like he just pretty much abducts him right after his parents get killed. He abducts him. He's like ramming into different police cars. And,
yes, this is All-Star Batman and Robin, yeah.
Yeah. And then he leaves him in the Batcave, and he forces him to eat rats. And I'm like, that's not fucking Batman. This is a fucking crazy man who stole Batman's costume and his gadgets. Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's not.
You know, so I started going on a complete left on with Frank Miller, but yeah. I mean,
that's all right. I think it goes back to, though, a tonal thing. And it's like, all right, well, if at least what is really good about All-Star Batman is, what is it? All-Star Batman and Robin?
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think that's it. Is that at least front to back, it's once again really fucked up. Gotham, I felt my highlights of that show were literally like season 2, episode 2, when Joker was like almost Batman 66 level cray, but they were throwing in some violence, but it was like they hit a tone for me. They hit like this groove with that Joker character, and that fucking actor. That's the other thing about these Joker movies that blows my mind. You literally already have a Joker sitting there, and I don't think that they should acknowledge, and maybe it's brand confusion, but I guess they wasted their resource there if brand confusion is a problem, because that is the fucking, I mean, obviously not up there with, but right under Heath Ledger easily with the Joker. That actor is incredible.
Oh, on Gotham, you mean?
Yeah. But then what they did with him after that New 52 shit where he's cutting up his own face, I was just like, whoa, what the fuck? But I felt like they hit a stride, and I liked it, and I was just like, oh man, they're almost doing like just kind of a violent 66 villain of the week. I could get into this. And then cover to cover, though, once again, I don't know what the fuck's going on in that show.
Yeah, I completely I definitely fell off it. Like I said earlier, the Nora Freeze episode.
I'm depressed that you told me that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you got to that point.
I thought you knew.
I guess you gave up before I did.
I did, yes, I
That's
did.
what really killed it for me. And yeah, that's I guess that's our thoughts on Gotham TV show. If you enjoy it, go ahead. No harm done. Tell us in the comments below why we should continue watching it, and maybe we'll give it a third try, or how many tries we try to get it.
Well, I guess to wrap up Gotham, and before wrapping it up, I guess during the wrap up, I'll say, I think none of us here want a bad show called Gotham. I mean, it's a fucking Batman show.
Yeah.
We do want the best thing, and I also don't think, like, I wouldn't have teamed up with you guys to tell listeners now with trolls to make a podcast. I don't fucking have time for trolls. I don't care enough how much you hate a thing. I mean, I'll talk about it to an extent. If I'd like to know maybe that you hated it or why you hated it. Beyond why or that, I don't need a whole podcast about hate. I don't need, profiles full of shitheads. So, but it's still, again, if you're asking me what I feel about it, I also feel like both of us gave it praise as well. Like I did think that show really did hit some moments for me, and you said the same. The final thing I'll say about Gotham, though, aside from that I don't 100% hate it, is that it is in its last season. Apparently, I think season 5, they're saying they're hanging up the cape and cowl that they never gave a character.
That's I mean, that's probably like the best season to end like a show generally. It's like probably like 5 seasons. Like going back kind of like to Smallville, I think personally they should have ended on season 5, and then pretty much after season 6, it got less and less good. Like it just kind of fell down. But like I think that's the perfect number of seasons to end the show. Too bad, Gotham wasn't what we were looking for personally for a Batman story. So yeah, I guess that's our thoughts on Gotham.
All right, no, it's good. Again, we're also, like getting to know each other's fandom and stuff. So it's cool to know that, because sometimes I'll bring up Gotham and forget that I'm with like a Gotham lover in the room, and I'll be like, I'll roll my eyes or say something, and I'm like, oh, sorry, dude.
Yes, yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I know we're talking about the shows and everything.
Yeah.
I know you're a big Batman fan, obviously, and I just wanted to see your thoughts on that. So it's good. It's good to know.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. So we'll hit Dark Knight first. This year, I think it was July 18th, 2008, The Dark Knight premiered. It was another era of Batmania. The reason we're talking about it, obviously 10th anniversary was very recently. So I thought we could get into just, we could just do 10 minutes on it.
Yeah.
What is interesting, and the one original thing that you can get from every single person ever, is what was your experience with it when it came out? And there's a whole generation now, scary enough to think that they might not have even been old enough to remember when this fucking movie came out. So let's talk to them.
Yeah, that's really interesting. To be honest, we don't have that perspective at all. I didn't even think of that. To be honest.
When I first watched it, it was like hugely influential on me. Just
right.
the first sort of opening thing when it zooms in on the building, and then one window blows out. I was like, oh my god, this movie is gonna be so cool.
Yeah, that opening is like perfect. I couldn't think of like a better way to open that movie. And I think they play an homage to Batman '66, like just with the mask the Joker wears. I guess that was like a mask like he Cesar Romero wore in the.
I didn't fucking know that. Wow.
It's in one of the episodes. I'm sure we could show an image or pull it up or anything like that. But yeah, it's very similar. And right in the opening shot, like the Joker's holding that same very mask. Just like standing on the street, and I guess like in the far background, I just found this out recently. Yeah. You can see a poster for Spider-Man 3,
really?
Which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, you see like a Spider-Man 3 poster. Yeah. I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong down below, but I'm pretty sure that's Spider-Man 3 poster. So
especially what that means.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. Maybe they're trying to say that Marvel's the fake one. Yeah. Yeah. Marvel's the movie one. That's Dark Knight is the real shit. You know, that's where real stuff happens.
So now, how old were you guys when Dark Knight came out? Again, it came out in 2008.
Oh wait, so we were in 8th grade. It's easy for us to figure out what grade we were in because it simultaneously come together. So that would make us like 13 years old. I remember, like I would play lacrosse in my youth, and I remember just being all pumped up, like talking about this movie before it even came out. And there's a lot of speculation. And this was like, I mean, there was social media, but like I didn't really use it. I was 13, I didn't give a shit. Yeah, you know, so like, I mean, I got a lot of information about this movie, like like really big internet. Like, I mean, obviously it's progressing year by year, but like that's like I was getting so much information about this movie just beforehand. I mean, just like hype, not like information about the storyline itself, like just hype and like how good the movie was going to be. And I just remember, you know, talking to my friends like on the field and like, oh, this movie's gonna be great, and I was just like, want to do sprints after just talking about it, you know.
Yeah, this was also like right before, you know, Nolan was like a cliche, you know, like he wasn't, you know, Memento was like everybody watched Memento, I think, because they liked Dark Knight, you know. And, like, Prestige came out before that, and not many people watch that movie, but, like, now when you think of Chris Nolan, you're thinking about, like, Inception, and he's, like, going to be crazy psychological.
You think of those, like, big, like, whatever music effect that is.
That is the best way to describe Nolan right now, is just
like same back at you. Like, how old were you when you first you know, seen the movie, and what were your thoughts like going into the movie and coming out of it?
Yeah, so I was 23. So I went into it already obsessed with not only Batman, but the fact that there was a sequel to Batman Begins.
Right.
But to backtrack a little bit, as I said when we first started talking about Dark Knight, is that it was a new chapter of Batmania. However, a great thing that you brought up, and what I really appreciate that you brought up, great fucking point. This was, yes, social media existed, but guys, like, social media, I'm not saying you guys, like listeners, social media, guys, listen up to me. I was 20 fucking 3.
Do it now.
Listen, kids. But yeah, like, it was, I think Twitter came out late 2008. Like, there wasn't nothing. There might have been, like, Facebook existed. MySpace, if you even know what the fuck that is, under the age of.
That was around for a while. Right?
Yeah. But it was not, like, when we say the word social media, it really kind of didn't exist back then. There was internet. There was definitely, we were in that chapter of the world. And like you said, a lot of buzz. Now, not quite what the post-Dark Knight Batmania that came after. When I say Batmania, it calls upon the 89 Batman. When 89 Batman came out, Tim Burton's Batman, the whole world exploded into Batman enthusiasm. But the Dark Knight had a similar effect. But what was interesting is that Begins did not. It wasn't like, so Batman 89, ostensibly you would think that Begins would be what, you know, gave all this Batmania. It wasn't. Dark Knight is what people were like, holy shit. And Nolan directed Begins. It was a great movie. People loved it. I think it did well all around. But it just was not nearly the mega smash fucking film iconic legend that Dark Knight was after that. I personally was living in Batmania because I was obsessed with Batman prior to all this. So I was fucking so pumped for this movie to come out, I couldn't even tell you. I went to see it 4 times in the theater. 3 of those times, I'm an hour and a half from New York. I went into the city 3 times to see it in IMAX. Wow. It was the first ever feature film in film history to be shot, to have scenes that were shot in IMAX. So there were IMAX movies before that. Now we're like, oh, IMAX this, IMAX that. This was, nothing was ever shot in IMAX before that other than like Deep Blue Sea featuring a fucking great white shark and Morgan Freeman's voice. That was like the only IMAX movie. So I'm like, dude, Batman, IMAX, I don't give a shit if it's the Joker talking in IMAX, I'm going 5 times. So I went up there 3 times, and then it was what it was. I mean, that opening scene, as you said, that was shot at IMAX. In fact, if you go on the DVDs, if you want to see, probably on YouTube, it'll show you a breakdown or whatever. But like, there were about 5 of the major action scenes in that movie that they actually shot in IMAX. Changed my fucking life. The Hong Kong flight scene. I was obsessed, really like problems obsessed. Could not stop thinking about that movie for like a year straight. It was so fucking good and impactful. And the performance of Heath Ledger was, I think, really what, especially now, I want to say back then, I was like, it's Batman that brought me in. It's what brought me in. Look, especially watching it for fresh eyes. And I guess we could wrap up talking about that. If you guys went back and watched it, I'm watching this movie now and I'm like, this is a really good Joker movie.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
What else is it? Because it's a good Batman story, but is it a great, like, it's a great Joker movie. It's a great Joker story. It's a great Batman story. But it's also kind of like, even the story. I mean, I'm not a big fan of, it was weird not being a fan of Batman this time around watching it. He's not visually appealing to me. He's not nearly big enough. That voice is historically, notoriously awful, and way worse than it was from Begins. I hate the fact, and what really, like, I really couldn't fucking take it. I thought this all began in Dark Knight Rises. His whole thing for Rachel, I mean, I knew he had a thing for Rachel, and that was part of the story, obviously, this whole time, but him wanting to quit being Batman is presented in the first act, and what that story hinges on is him wanting to quit. And I'm like, fuck, I don't like this guy's not Batman. Why is he always wants to quit? And then now watching it post-trilogy and knowing the comic, like I also wasn't big into the comics before then. I hadn't revisited the anime. Like I kind of had, but I hadn't, like developed kind of like a different version of Batman other than just like, this is religion. It's religion, really, looking back, because of Heath Ledger and Nolan. And other than that, it's like, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of what they did with Batman in that movie. So the title, I'll say, finally, I have a little problem with the title looking back. Just because it's like, let's call it the Joker. I don't know.
Yeah. I think my dad, when I showed him, because I loved it so much, he was like, it was a bit too much Joker. I was like, what?
That's the best part. I loved it.
Yeah. And I have no problem with that. And even if it's a Batman movie, like, call it Batman : fucking, Attack of the Joker. I don't care. But just, I don't know. I had that same problem with watching 89 Batman now. Batman's in like 6 minutes of that fucking movie. It's like the Joker's movie. I mean, he's in more than 6 minutes. He's just not in a lot in the suit as Batman, patrolling the rooftops. Like, actually, I guess in 89 that's unfair because they opened that movie with him patrolling the rooftops. But that's the other problem with The Dark Knight. I don't get a feeling that this guy ever was really doing it unless he had to do it, and there was some psycho terrorist in town. I think he was like an anti-terrorist future soldier dressed like a bat who had similar motivations to the guy that we know, but really was ready to quit. If he's ready to quit in the first act of Act 2 of your 3-act story, that's really fucking early for a guy that I'm supposed to think is like a Dark Knight to quit. I don't want a knight to be quitting Act 1.
He had Spider-Man 2 syndrome. He wanted to quit to be with Mary Jane. In this case, with Rachel. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting you mentioned IMAX cameras, too. I guess that scene where they're in the tunnels and everything with that big chase, the Joker chase, with the tumbler and everything. I guess they smashed one of the IMAX cameras, so that was like, I guess a couple $1 million. I don't know. And there's only like 4 of them in the world at that time. So
right.
Like,
yeah, they built those things for the first time for that movie. They never existed, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like I guess they broke one of them during the filming, which is pretty interesting.
What I wanted to say about this movie is it made me obsessed with the Joker, And especially like the insanity of the Joker, I felt like they pushed it so hard. And with Jared Leto's Joker, like that scene when he has all of the guns laid out and they zoom up, I'm like, the Joker spent all that time like laying out the guns perfectly.
I thought the same fucking thing.
So I would really like to see like a really like insane sort of grotesque Joker, movie. So I am interested to see a standalone movie, but
yeah, and the point you made with like that Dark Knight Batman not being like the Batman we kind of know, I did feel like that even back then when I was 13 years old.
Really?
I mean, he's cool. He looks cool. The armor's kind of neat looking. He could turn his head for the first time without doing his whole body.
Yeah, like
that was interesting. Like I liked the whole tech and everything, but like he wasn't really my Batman, at least. Like I know he was a lot of people's Batmans, probably maybe even kids younger than us. Like that's like what they grew up with Batman. But I grew up with like '89 Batman the animated series, so like that was my Batman. And I totally agree with you there. Like he was just kind of like he was just like hanging around.
But also, right before going in, Josh had lent me The Long Halloween.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, like, I know that influenced The Dark Knight a lot.
Yeah, which is a comic that influenced, yeah.
Right, it's a comic book. And one of the main plot lines is, with Two-Face.
Yeah.
His transformation. So there's this whole mystery going on. But then on top of that, Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face.
Right.
And so I just, watching the movie, and then the tone felt a lot like The Long Halloween. Not the storyline, but the tone.
Yeah.
And so I was just eating it up when I was watching it.
I would love a direct adaptation of The Long Halloween as a movie. I would love that because like all these characters are in it, and there's like a big mystery, and you're trying to figure all this out. I mean, I don't know how they would do that now with the cinematic universe and everything, but I would totally be into that. I think that would be pretty rad.
It's funny you said that. I just had someone on the Above and Batman Beyond podcast, and it's the episode that's just about to come out. At Saturday Morning Batman was on.
Oh, really?
Do you know his profile?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you guys would love it if you like animated Batman. That's 100% animated Batman.
Ooh. Is that so? What exactly does he do?
So it's an Instagram profile, and he uses like his profile is his medium of expression. So what he'll do is like post a still or a video of something from everything that's ever been animated that is Batman. So that's what's cool about it. It's very much like history meets current pop culture animated Batman. But he can also really write. He's in advertising, so he clearly does. If they're not using him for his writing, they're idiots. Whatever he's doing, because he can fucking really write, and so he just writes these huge, like, explaining deep cut, like, this is the year this came out, and it was influenced by these comics in this time. He does true historical archival animated Batman work. It's awesome.
Really cool. I definitely got to check that out. What's his name again? So
it's at Saturday Morning Batman, and his name's Travis.
Saturday Morning Batman. All right, definitely got to follow him now.
Because I just started a new segment on the Above and Batman Beyond show, which is about what you were just saying. He responded the same way. He wanted a Long Halloween animated movie. So to backtrack, the question is, and I would like to have you. I just made me think of this. We should have, to help promote this show, we should have you guys come on the Above and Batman Beyond show. We could do a crossover.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We'll definitely be open for that, yeah.
Dude, people get so pumped when I say, like, when I tell them they can talk about Batman Beyond for an hour, they're like, what?
I'm totally in. Yeah, that would be amazing.
But yeah, one of the things I ask people now, and it's evolved over a couple episodes, but I've kind of honed it down. I think, and people, dude, Twitter, like I really hit something with it because not like giving myself credit, but I should say it hit something with people. My fucking Twitter blew up, dude. Like
really? So
many people responded to just in Twitter form, and the episode hasn't even come out yet. And the question was, you are the head of DC Animation. You get 3 DC animated movies a year. So, because that's the current schedule right now. They put 3 of them out a year. So what, because you're on a Beyond show, obviously one of your answers has to be a Batman Beyond animated movie. What do you want to see? So really you get 2 fucking movies. One of them is Batman Beyond. So you get 2 fucking movies. But yeah, people on people on Twitter exploded with it. And then Saturday Morning Batman, one of his, and it wasn't my stipulation. I think he might have thought that it was. I don't care if they're comic adaptations or not, but they can be. His decision was to do one of them a comic adaptation, and it was Long Halloween. He said he loves Long Halloween.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, for sure.
So you guys should start thinking about your answers to that for our next episode.
I already got my answers right now. I mean, the 2 I would pick is...
Wait, do you want to...
Save them for the...
Yeah, you should save them.
Okay, gotcha.
Because that'll take us like 40 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, if I was saying we could do it on the crossover episode.
Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, perfect.
Unless you want, you could do your like quick answer now if you want.
Yeah, I was just gonna do a quick one.
I think we should do the next. What's the next segment?
Okay, next segment.
All right, no worries. Okay, so the next segment, I lost my spot here. Oh, Death of Superman. So this is our. Oh yeah, you know what? Now it's up. Before I was like, I told you that. Now I'm remembering what I fucking told you. Which was Death of Superman, the animated movie that just came out. I suggested to Josh that we talk about that on this episode because one of the things that we agreed on when we first got to talking about his interest, my interest, not only animated series, Batman the animated series, but he loves Superman. As you can tell if you're watching in video form, his awesome Superman tank there.
Yeah, there we go.
A proud super fan. And so I love what's weird, and one of the things I was thinking about last night was that like I wouldn't consider myself, my knee-jerk reaction to the question, are you a fan of Superman, is no. However, when he's with Batman, for some reason I get this like super special interest for this like super powered fucking dude just by virtue of the fact that he's like in contrast to Batman. So I do love Superman, just to get it out of the way. But it's cool to have like this team up type thing. So one of the ideas I had was that we could do episodes, either animated movies or episode by episode recap / review type things, to dig deep into, because one thing I still haven't done on my Above and Batman Beyond show as well is done episode by episodes of that show. Another thing, you're more than welcome if I would love to start doing those as well. But to explore the Batman the animated series, to explore the Justice League animated series. We talked about doing the world's finest, new Batman Adventures, Superman animated crossover. However, to keep it newsworthy, since it is a news show, the Death of Superman animated just fucking came out. So I thought, why not? And that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to start there.
So you guys just watched it. You're way fresher than I am with
Yeah,
this.
we literally just watched it.
That is awesome because I watched it a week or 2 ago. So I still have thoughts. I wrote some stuff down, I believe, and I'm going to look for it now. But you guys talk about your reactions. I love, there's nothing like, as corny as a lot of those reaction videos are, it's cool to have the technology to immediately kind of give your reaction and broadcast that. So what did you guys think coming out of the home theater of Death of Superman?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I kind of want to get into Dan's thoughts because I know Dan was a little confused in the beginning with all the characters and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't follow the comic books too closely, the New 52, and I haven't seen any of the new any of the movies,
right?
Any of the previous movies. So there's some stuff that I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
So for listeners who have absolutely no idea, if we're going to get into confusion, we gotta just real quick. First of all, Batman, Death of Superman is based on the comic Death of Superman, written by Dan Jurgens, and we've had him on the Above and Batman Beyond show. I promise you, we're going to get him on this fucking show because we got to talk about, if we have a Batman Superman show, he's coming on our show to talk about that shit.
That's amazing. Oh
yes. And especially you as a Superman fan, I have been dying to like connect him with a Superman fan to do that. So.
Oh my gosh, this is perfect.
But anyway, so Dan, and the reason I've had him on the Above show, he happens to write Above and Batman Beyond, or Above. He happens to write Batman Beyond comics right now. Anyway, acclaimed DC legend Dan Jurgens. This is based on the death of Superman. Now, what's weird, and I agree about the weirdness and confusion, what Dan is talking about is that these movies now are based on like the DC New 52 comic. So they're animated adaptations of the DC New 52 comics, which are now the old like that's the last. They've been rebooted again. Now you got Rebirth, which has been rebooted again. New 52 was the Rebirth, I believe, in 2011. Then there was another reboot called Rebirth in 2016, I believe. And what happened during New 52 is that they started making the animated movies based on those characters. What Dan is saying, he's got a problem, and I completely agree with this. I understand to an extent why they would do these. If you have this animated universe of New 52 based characters, okay, great. People recognize them. But this is an adaptation of something not based on the New 52. So yeah, so Dan, get back into that and your confusion with the characters, because I couldn't agree more there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I have, and I still have, is this like Doomsday, like Death of Superman from like the 90s or whenever it happened? Was there a
Yeah, no, Doomsday was created in that comic in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, was there a remake of it in the New 52? Did they like?
No, they didn't. I don't. From my knowledge, I don't think they redid. It's beat for beat the same story.
This is like a modern story with the characters and their storylines from the New 52.
Yeah, it is kind of confusing because they took the story from the 90s and just kind of brought it into this continuity with the New 52. And I was questioning this too. I was like, is this a standalone thing? But the animation was similar to the previous, movies and everything like that of the New 52 series. So I was kind of questioning that too. And I know Superman and Wonder Woman were dating in the New 52, and they brought that over to the New 52 animation series. And I was like, so are they dating now because he was with Lois? And then like they did mention that like they were, Clark and Diana were having a conversation. He's like, oh, remember when we were dating? Ha ha ha. And then she's like, oh yeah, now you're dating Lois. It's fun. I was like,
there was a scene, in the very beginning before, like, there's
keep talking. I'm just gonna step off screen for a sec.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
There's this big plot line about Lois Lane and how she doesn't know Superman's identity.
Right.
And I was super confused. I
was confused too, and I'm a big Superman fan, so I was lost too.
We were like, does she know or does she not?
Yeah.
And some of the dialogue sort of seemed like she knew.
Yeah.
She was like,
that's why, and I was like, all right,
play cool in public, maybe.
Yeah, we literally just watched it, so we're kind of like speculating, like, does she know? Does she know? And like, she drags him into like the broom closet room at one point, like to like just make out with Clark. And you're like, oh, she knows. I'm like, I don't know. She's like talking about like she doesn't know, and it was weird. So it's revealed that she doesn't know that Clark is Superman.
But then that's confusing too. So she doesn't know in the New 52 like movies.
Well, in the New 52 comics, she didn't know Clark was Superman for definitely. Right. So I guess that carried over to the New 52. Now I'm curious why with the death of Superman, why they chose the New 52 universe to tell the story.
I mean, I do think that that's an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting.
It was. It was just kind of like, it just threw me off a little bit because I didn't know where the continuity was anymore. Because, I read the New 52 comics. I mean, I'm a little behind, like I said before, with Rebirth and everything like that. But, like, it threw me off because I was like, where's the continuity? But I guess, like, they just kind of, like, shoehorned it in there. And I guess within the New 52, that did happen, like the Superman did happen, but like, I don't know, they just kind of hinted at like it did happen. So, and Doomsday does show up later on in New 52, and like he does like say like, oh, remember that time I fought him and I died? He doesn't say that directly, but like, he just kind of hints at that. So he does come back in the comic form itself.
I wonder if that'll open up, the doors for having other like adaptations of books that aren't in the New 52, but will still like take place in the same context.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do that. Like,
That could be cool,
with the animation and everything.
especially because one of my favorite parts about the movie was Batman.
Yeah,
He was so cool in his character design, like stuff he was doing.
Yeah, I like the Batman stuff. I did too.
Yeah.
There's one scene when he comes down when Doomsday, and he's pure black. He's this pure black shadow that just comes down, and his cape spreads out.
He looked really cool. How they animated him, I liked how they animated him more than they animated Superman. Superman just looked like a weird action figure toy.
Yeah, I mean, we were making fun of it. There's different stuff that we were making fun of.
Yeah, like his head looked a little too small, and his voice sounded a little too young for this year's Superman. I don't know if you had any that was just like a little minor nitpicks. I don't know if you had Benjamin, if you had any minor
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the Superman. That now that you say that, I didn't remember that. The second you say that, it hit me right away. Yes, right. The second he opened his mouth, I was just like, that doesn't what?
Yeah. I could see that as year one Superman.
Yeah.
Young guy trying to figure out what to do with his powers kind of thing. But
right.
This is a Superman who's already been established. He already knows the Justice League and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I do like that the little jokes they had with the Flash, oh Flash, you're on the cleanup duty. Goodbye.
Yeah, Flash was actually interesting. I'm not a fan of Flash at all. And Flash was pretty interesting. He was funny. He was I wanted to know more about him.
No, that's how the Flash character is. And
they really nailed that character in the animated movies, I think.
No, they definitely did. I totally agree with you.
He looks amazing, like you say, in character work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, Dan, since you're not a fan of the Flash, I would check out a few Flash comic books. I think I gave you Flashpoint. I don't know how you thought about that. Oh, you didn't read it? Okay, so he didn't read it. So I tried to give Dan a Flash comic book to get him introduced.
One day I'll do it.
Yeah, so that'll be another podcast. We'll talk about Flash.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah, and we can talk about the animated adaptation of Flashpoint too. They did.
Yes. Oh my God! Don't get me fucking started with that show. Dude, it will be me. I'll tell you how that's going to go. Me crying for 2.5 hours.
That's perfect.
Dude. Kevin Conroy at the end of fucking Flashpoint Power. I'm going to start crying if I do it. When he says, when he tells fucking Flash, reading a note from his father that he never got to meet after he was the age of 10 and he got gunned down in an alley, telling him that he's proud of him. And he tells fucking Flash as a tear falls from his eye, and it's the voice of Kevin Conroy, the man, my fucking bat father, dude, going, "You're one hell of a messenger." That shit, telling him he's one hell of a messenger in that way, the fucking, as the tear hits the paper, as I'm talking about it, I get choked. That is cinematic fucking perfection. Animated, live action, I don't care. Perfect.
I forgot it was Kevin Conroy because it is new. I guess it's pre-New 52. That's how the whole.
Well, what it was is that movie is. Yes, it was new, but they were able to kind of get around it because it's an Elseworld, so it wasn't they didn't seem to adhere to the New 52 stuff because Conroy Batman was he was in the very beginning and the very end. Beyond that, most of that movie is Thomas Wayne Batman, which was another guy's voice.
Well, it does. I mean, I think the whole Flashpoint, it's actually what introduced the New 52. So after Flash messes up the timeline and he comes back, that's when all their costumes changes and the whole.
Oh, that's how they explain the New 52 in the comics.
52 comes out after Flash messes up with the timeline. At least within the comic books, So that's how the New 52 was, introduced that way, which I think is a really good way to do it. And it was really. I know we're talking about Flashpoint now, but it was really interesting. And we did get to interview Kevin Conroy. If you want to check that out on our YouTube page, so we'll put whatever links on whatever site Down below. Yeah, that'll be
So jealous.
Well, maybe we'll get to do something like that again. We'll see what happens.
Well, he's actually going to be in Philadelphia. Yeah.
If he's there, I mean, and if you're there, he's very open guy. He would definitely talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was really cool, really humble. He was awesome. I was like squeeing talking to him, but like on the inside, like I wasn't projecting that out because he would like get away from me. But I mean, I wanted to talk about what you guys liked about the Death of Superman. We'll start with you, Ben. What did you like about this movie?
I liked the action, and I liked the action.
Yeah. I like the action.
I mean, that's basically what I really liked about it was the action.
I mean, like, once you get to where the action sort of starts, you're like, oh, yeah, now this is where the movie
this is where it really starts.
Watch this movie,
Right.
But I will say, though, when I know I said that with a big, like, sarcastic smile on my face, and a lot of it is, but at the same time, it's also, I don't mind that. Like, that's what I think a lot of these movies are missing. I kind of sign up when I watch a movie called The Death of Superman. I want to see some shit get fucked up. When I see a movie called Batman v Superman and they're only Ving for 10 minutes, you got a fucking problem.
I take issue with a lot of the fight scenes in all of the superhero movies and some of the other like big action movies that come out. Like, you can't see what the fuck is going on with a lot of the action.
Yeah.
And with this movie, the action was done so well.
So well.
See what's happening. And of course, they don't have this budget constraint. They can, like, blow up whatever city they want, whatever building they want, because it's animated. But they can do that, too, with CG, can't they?
Yeah, no, they definitely can.
Oh, they could do it. They just,
With Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, the whole Metropolis gets destroyed.
So it's like, it's clear that somebody knows how to do the action. Some of their storyboards drawn, they can do it for a live action film. I think that the blockbuster movie should learn something.
I totally agree with you. And like, I love like within the action pieces, like there's like close-ups of like Wonder Woman's face, and you can see her like how she's emoting and how pissed off she was. Like, I love that like little touches in that slow motion moment, like with Superman like hitting Doomsday in the face. I forget what he hits him with, but like it's just like, it was like basically a big baseball bat. And he's just like that slow motion, and he's just all emoting out, and it was just like a great moment, just seeing their faces up and close, and you like kind of feel the blows themselves, I totally agree with you. That was really the best part was the action.
Yeah, I kept on saying throughout it that I really wanted it to be like more and more like Dragon Ball Z.
Right, like Superman powering up.
Yeah,
you're like, while you're at it, just go all the way.
Yeah, exactly. And they did it to an extent. Like, I wasn't totally let down. They didn't go like full Dragon Ball Z, but they still did have it. But also, a lot of it reminded me of like that final battle scene in the Matrix Revelations with Neo and Agent Smith. Where they like punch each other in the face at the same time. There's a shockwave. All that stuff is really cool.
Right. I love that stuff. And I wanted to get to with the relationship between Clark and Lois. I know we were discussing before while you're gone that Wonder Woman and Superman had a relationship in the comics and in the continuity of the previous New 52 when they kind of hinted at it. And I don't know if this I could have missed the movie or whatever, but I want to see the movie where they broke up and why. I don't know why they broke up. They were just like, hey, remember when we dated? And that was it. It was the only line we kind of got for that.
Did they cover that? I don't think. Let me backtrack. Was the Wonder Woman solo movie, the animated Wonder Woman solo movie that came out a couple years ago, was that part of the New 52 Wonder Woman, or was that just her own story?
No, I think that was her own story where she's fighting Ares, right? That one?
Yeah. That movie's fucking sweet.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I wish that was the Wonder Woman movie, like the live action one. But like, no, that was a really good movie. No, that did not do with the New 52. That was just like its own like continuity and everything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. New 52 is not new anymore. It's like
that's why they should. Yeah, old 52. Yeah. What they should call it.
They should just not do anything with the number 52 in it and move the fuck on. Why are we like
just name it something else, please?
Especially, I mean, well, you already did. That's the other thing. You were already rebirthed. Why are you going that? It's like
I think it's because they already started with New 52 continuity.
Right. That's a good point because now you have an animated universe.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the movies call themselves the New 52.
No, they don't, but they definitely have the continuity and the imagery and the like everything. Everything's New 52. It just it's stamped on it without it needing to be legible. But like it's New 52.
So I guess a necessary question here, another one would be, how do you guys feel about these new? Again, I think an important thing we've probably established is that maybe they feel pressure now to use this animated universe, very understandable because it's separate now from the comics. Be it the old 52, now they got a current 52 fucking animated verse. What do you do with that in their defense? So, yes. However, how do you guys feel about it aside from all the comic stuff?
About the in-universe, like animation?
Yeah, like how do you feel about this animated universe we now have? And for listeners, I think the one voice actor that they have not really compromised in any of these movies, it seems to be every time they are intent on getting Jason O'Mara, the voice actor for Batman. He's in every one of them, it seems. They'll play around with Superman. They'll play around with who's Wonder Woman in each movie and stuff. Like Jerry O'Connell was Superman this last time, and I think somebody else was Superman last time. But so I guess the consistency is going to be you have, in terms of voice acting, Jason O'Mara. Some recurring people are Rosario Dawson as Wonder Woman. And then on the animation side of things, you have the work of Jay Oliva. Jay Oliva directed and did a lot of the character designs, earned his chops at Young Justice, did a lot of the character designs for that, which is now getting the reboot in Season 3, The Outsiders, on the DC Universe app. So, if you want to see more of his, I guess, I don't know if he's actually working on that show, but the point is Jay Oliva is huge with those animated movies. He's directed a lot of them. So he's very responsible for these character designs and for a lot of these movies that have come out. So how do you guys feel about this verse of animated movies?
I guess I'll start. Well, I've been enjoying them. Like I said, I read the New 52 comic book, so I have something to compare it with. To be honest, me personally, because I read the comic books, I like those better. You like
the comics better than the movies?
Yeah, I like the comics better than the movies. I mean, they're definitely very, very close to what they are. Especially with the first one, the Justice League one. That one was
Justice League War, was it?
Yeah, I believe that's what it was called. But yeah, that one wasn't on par. I mean, it was basically the same framework, but it just wasn't as good to me as the comic book itself. But I do like the Batman character throughout the whole movies. Like, I like how he's animated. I like how he moves. His costume looks very dynamic and really cool. I don't know, Dan. I don't think you've seen any other.
I mean, I've seen like Wonder Woman, and I've seen The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
I've seen like clips from different ones. Mm-hmm. So I know like what the style is.
Right.
But for me, I mean, I grew up, with watching the animated series, Batman, Superman, Justice League, and so I'm watching these new ones, and sometimes like I get confused, like I get comfortable, like, oh yeah, this is familiar. It looks like a Warner Brothers animation, and then all of a sudden, like, there's like a big blood, splat, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? They're like saying like son of a bitch, and I'm like, whoa, what is happening?
Okay, great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Why are they making these things so adult? It's a big problem I have with these. While we're getting on our thoughts about the new, again, topic being our thoughts on this New 52 based DC animated universe we currently have. And by the way, I guess before we proceed, not every single, what I like that they're doing at Warner Brothers Animation is not exclusively locking themselves into that universe in terms of release schedule. Like, you're going to get films like Gotham by Gaslight. You'll get films that just are not, like Hush we're getting next year, which we should talk about in another episode, definitely. But they're not beholden to this animated universe per se, which I like a lot. But yeah, so like when these movies, a big fucking problem I have with this animated universe, when they are movies that take place in this universe, a big trend is the adultification and the like. It seems like something a really old person that's super out of touch that's going like, what do kids really want to fucking see? And it's like, I don't, and even adults, like, I don't even know any adults that want to see, like, you know, Harley Quinn have sex with Nightwing while he's tied up. I don't know anyone who wants to see that, or her farting, or like, I don't get it.
There must be someone out there because they keep doing weird stuff.
Yeah, but also, like,
But sorry, that was the Batman Harley Quinn movie. That's a separate universe. Back to the DC. Yeah, a lot of these newer movies, they curse a lot. They say "son of a bitch." There's you know, there's a lot of sexual references and a lot of blood. So yeah, what do you guys think of the violence? What do you guys think of the adultification of these movies?
yeah, like people that like gore, you know, they're like into that like gothic, you know, stuff and like old horror movies, you know, these like, and the way that they do it in this, it doesn't seem to honor that, you know. It's not like the good gore that people like. It's like gore that sort of sucks, you know. And like Matt brought up, there's one part where this bear gets like squished or something by Doomsday, and it's like, where did the blood come from? It just sort of squirts out like tomato juice, you know. It's like, what happened to the bear that caused this blood to like squirt in her face and on the pen, you know?
Yeah,
that's weird stuff.
I personally, I mean, I didn't really have a problem with the blood for this movie per se because it is called The Death of Superman, so you know you're gonna get a lot of blood coming out of Superman.
I like the blood that like came out of his head.
Yeah, and his eye. Yeah, that was really cool. I mean,
yeah. In terms of blood, I didn't mind it. In this movie, I didn't really have a complaint, honestly. I'll agree, because they really kind of, like you said, I think a little bit touched on it with, like, if you want gore, then it's got to be in a movie that's gory, not this out-of-nowhere fucking bullshit. It's like, yeah, it might have had scenes that, you know, where I agree, probably too extreme. And even in this movie, too many sexual references, I'll agree. It's too many adultified things. But at least with this, the project, as we said from the outset, at least in our review, is we like the action, we like the action. So if you get blood in a movie where your review is you like the action and the action,
I guess then the complaint is about how like corny or just how like regular, like how tame some of the like dialogue is, like when they're in the office and they're just fucking talking about stuff, and like when they're hanging out at Clark Kent, the Kent's house, you know, and they're just talking about life and stuff, you know. I'm like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, they're just getting introduced to Lois Lane, and I mean, it's like
it was like a rom-com subplot.
Yeah, I mean, that was supposed to be like the tug at your heartstrings kind of emotions you're supposed to get, but like I was kind of thrown off by it because I was at the point where like Superman's with Wonder Woman, like you know, whatever. Lois is old news, and then he's back with Lois. I'm like, oh well, Superman, you wouldn't have this problem. Like discussing your secret identity if you're still with Wonder Woman, and she would be able to take care of herself. So if I was Superman, I would totally be Team Wonder Woman. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a Kryptonian and could choose between an Amazonian and a fucking human, that's really simple.
Right.
I think in Mallrats, he covered it perfectly.
Yeah, that's what Mateo was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, our buddy Matt was saying that during the movie, which is funny that you brought that up.
And back to like the Lois thing too, and DC love triangles. Like that sounds like I really want to see that show now. DC love triangles. All it is, zero action. The only action you get is when Superman just goes like, poof, woof, and does that thing where he explodes out that I fucking love. Or Batman, we know what he does. He just fucking bounces.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all in the suit, but all they do is dramatize about their fucking stupid relationships. I want to see that show really bad.
I would totally be yeah.
I don't really want to see that show, but I would like to see a version of that. That'd be cool.
I would check it out. I'd be interested. Like,
or just like a little 11-minute fucking fan videos of that. That's where that belongs.
Like I was saying before, I've read the New 52 comic books. I would read the Wonder Woman and Superman like love storyline comic books. Like they're like kind of their relationship. And I was actually getting really into it. I'm like, yeah, Superman, you're doing good. And I remember a lot of people were having complaints like, why isn't he with Lois? Why isn't he with Lois? I'm like, Batman's with freaking so many girls. Why can't Superman get another just something on the side? Like what's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's just how people intake. Like how they want their Superman to be with Lois.
Spider-Man has like a whole rogue gallery of of relationships that he's been involved with.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing, though, like. What you can judge Batman for is sleeping with literal fucking super criminals.
Right.
Where it's like, what is Superman's side piece? First of all, it's not a side piece because he's not lying to people. Batman makes it his business to fucking lie to people. And then, or just not talk. So lies of omission. And then number two, it's like, he's not some kind of playboy. And who's this... other woman beside literally Wonder Woman. Like, she's the purest woman ever. You have a problem with the Man of Steel with the Wonder Woman? I don't get that. It's like
I didn't understand it either. And I just like the dynamic because they're both on the same team. They're both in the league. They're trying to kind of hide it from the rest of the league, so they're not like, like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is unethical. We're supposed to be like doing this for business saving the universe or whatever. And I did like that dynamic.
Yeah, I could see if like Lena Luthor was like, "Hey Lex, what's going on?" Or not right. Lex. I'm sorry. If like some female Luthor was, whoa, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's a different fanfic. We'll put that.
I don't want to see that show.
Right.
But yeah, it's like it's not like Superman is dumpster diving or like tempted by some bad chick.
Exactly. So I did like that relationship.
But didn't he in Hush? Wasn't Superman like corrupted by Poison Ivy?
Yeah, he was. But
but that's like he doesn't have control over that. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. That was just him, being poisoned by Poison Ivy powers and kryptonite lipstick.
Yes.
So seducing the hell out of him.
God damn it, that's a good book.
It really is. But that's basically my summary of the Death of Superman. Benjamin, I don't know if you wanted to add any points that you didn't discuss previously.
One thing we touched on with the DC love triangles. Again, I've got to see that short series. I really oh my god. But yeah, so I did think that a surprisingly well done. If you had told me that I would be as into the love story that they gave us with Clark and Lois, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd be like, all right, yeah, you have to do it. I'm sure it's in the comic and whatever, and it's necessary to that character to figure out that relationship with Lois because it is part of, as with any relationship, it reflects who you are and who you want to be to the world, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, but I also found it was cool because it felt origin-ish because it was early on in his relationship with her insofar as she not knowing that he's, the reveal that he's Superman, right? Isn't that the big reveal in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a fucking serious thing for that guy to do, and that is the classic thing of like he can't be in every one of the most fascinating things that character for me is just, and probably to anyone, he can't ever be everywhere at once. He can't ever save all the people. So what is it like to be with a guy who is he can't ever always be what was that?
He's needed by the whole world, so he can't be like
right. If he can't even if he can't even save everyone, how the fuck is he gonna, like, that's the point. It's like he can't ever always be there for her, and that's the problem with being with a superhero. But it was also all those kind of like classic tropes aside, I thought the way they sold it, like the dialogue, how it was written, the animation and everything, I was like, this is a really fucking well done DC Love Triangles episode.
It was really good how it was adapted and everything.
Yeah, and I want to clarify. I was shitting on like the tone of all of this stuff, but like I really did like the love, the romance of it. When he passes, he has that note that says like my final secret or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was adorable.
It was truly good.
And then she has the note at the end, like she's throwing a rock at Doomsday, and she has another one in her hand. She's like, "What's the point of even throwing this rock? I'm gonna freaking die."
That was good stuff.
And like when the tears were coming down, you're like, "Come on, Clark, get up."
But there was one scene when they had like this Justice League meeting. All the superheroes got up in this meeting, and they were like talking about stuff. And then they concluded the meeting by like talking about like relationships.
Yeah,
all of them were just sort of talking about their relationship. I was like, where did this? Isn't there a sense of urgency? Right. They're just like, nah.
It's like an episode of Friends, the Justice League. I just hear that theme song playing in my head now with them all sitting around the Justice League table.
Just like that fucking Joker. Oh my god. Again?
I want to see that. I want to see Friends Justice League. Oh my god.
You see the 7 of them sitting there like they're facing you from the couch, and then like 2 villains like Two-Face and fucking Joker walk in to Central Perk and immediately turn around like, oh fuck.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Just like dumb shit like that.
Yeah, like you were saying, like DC Love Triangle, like we kind of like added that in there.
You have Harley's the waitress because she's on probation.
Right. Oh my gosh, that would be perfect. That's the next New 52 animated movie they're making.
DC Love Triangle. But it's called what would you call it? DC Love Triangle's Central Perk Edition.
Oh. I pretty much gave all my thoughts about this movie. I don't know about you guys. If you got any final words or anything like that?
No, I mean, it still had the same issue that I had with like Batman Superman, where like there's one scene where Lex is talking to this mustache Doc Ock, and there's all these test tube dudes. There's like dudes in test tubes, right. And I didn't understand why they were there. And then they sort of allude to Superboy, but like Josh had to explain to me that it was Superboy. There's like all of this like sort of fan service for people that know.
Well, it's just set up for the next movie. They're definitely going to be doing the Return of Superman. That's
Reign of Superman. They're calling it.
Yeah, that's why they had like Hank Henshaw, Superboy, within it. And now those stories will be, continue on within, the later, animated movie.
So my criticism is that some stuff doesn't work as a standalone movie, but better as like a series.
Right. I mean, that's what they're kind of alluding to anyway.
I mean, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, you'll definitely get your answers, I think, as you continue on within, the franchise.
But then, if we could move into like spoilers for the very end of the movie, is that cool?
Didn't we already spoil?
Yeah, we can spoil.
I mean, like Superman dies.
He lives at the end of this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I would like for a time. Like Josh was saying, all hope is lost, because Superman, is a symbol of hope, and him dying, like, then there's this, I imagine, like, this period, this dark period where, hope is lost.
Yeah, they did.
And, and I just imagine, like, it could be a cool thing that one of these movies would do, but they didn't give it a chance.
Yeah, you kind of see that figure in the sky, and he's tomb is open. So like it didn't seem like enough time.
And when we were watching it, each scene, faded to black, and all of us were like, "Is that it?
Yeah.
Is that it? Is this the last shot? That was a weird last shot.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still going.
Yeah.
It's still going.
It did
guys.
do that. It had like a little fake outs, like with Return of the King almost.
Yeah, right.
Oh my fucking god, dude.
Right.
Oh Jesus! So I have an idea for a shirt, and I thought this would be a good place to pitch it. And the shirt, and now that I have a merch store, I can actually do this shit now. And remember in Clerks when he goes, "There's only one return."
Yeah.
Remember that line? He's like, "There's only one return, nerd, and it's of the fucking Jedi."
Yeah.
Because it's like Kings versus Rings versus Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I had an idea for a shirt that says "There's only one return," and on the back it says "and it's of the Joker." So,
Return of the Joker. That would be good.
so you have like two clerks bitching at each other, or you have like the same scene, and then you think it's gonna say "of the Jedi," and then I'm like, "Nah, bitch." Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, and 90% of people are gonna go, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I would love that. No.
And then it's an opportunity to explain to them what it is, and I'm selling my show. See what it is?
That'll be a nice little story you could give. What is that?
Yeah, what do you think of that shirt? Would you buy that?
I would. I kind of want one of your Batman Beyond podcast shirts.
Each shirt.
Yeah, to be honest.
Yes. All you have to do is go to BatmanBeyondPodcast.com, and you'll find the link to our merch store right there on the homepage.
There you go.
Do it.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, honestly, you can find that stuff through our website. Also, currently the link in our bio on Instagram goes right to it.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll buy your BatYard shit. I forgot you had that crazy dino stuff going. I
know.
love dinosaurs, dude.
Which is the problem. I gotta definitely show that out more. But yeah, we do have shirts. If you want to check it out, for sure. Yeah.
So any final notes on Superman?
Yeah, I mean, the final things I'll say, again, action was probably the best part of it. Another positive, the Flash, again, really good moments with that.
Yeah.
If you're going to have the Justice League in there, each character really does need to stand out. That is the point of them, and why, again, that's extra intrigue that I have. We'll get into it when we talk about World's Finest, of like, I have this strange interest of Superman when he's with Batman, and it's definitely because of that contrast. So to have like strong even moments like that with the Flash, that's just called good writing. I mean, you could say he has a very small part in that, but it's good writing nonetheless. So they take their time with it. The love story, fantastic. Again, I couldn't believe like not just jokingly DC loves triangle, which I feel is like what Buffy, those like DC, those CW shows are basically doing, and why I roll my eyes and personally lost interest. It's because I feel there's a lot of that going on there too, of just like, I'm sorry, I don't care that much that like, there's a lot of relationship bullshit in those shows. It did the very necessary Lois and Clark stuff, but probably, and I'll honestly say, like, I've never really read much Superman comics, but that is probably my favorite Lois and Clark stuff that I've ever seen between the two of them. Because I think the other stuff constantly, at least just from what I've seen, because I don't read the comics, most of what I see is like what I said before. He can't, he can never be everywhere at once, and he'll never fully be there for me. And, even though, like, I think it's just, from what I see, a lot of the same of him saving her, and just whatever. So, like, I like to see things that are developmental and really important in their relationship, like him revealing it to her. The moment of him revealing that to her is really cool to see. So I think they did that very well. Again, the action is great. The final thing I'll say about it is that new 52 base DC animated universe that we're in particular, Jason O'Mara as Batman. Because I come from the Batman perspective, I'm not saying the guy does a bad job. I'm just saying he's never impressed me. He's never disappointed me, but he's never fucking impressed me. I've never been like, oh man, I mean, and I've all-manned over not just, by the way, Kevin Conroy's Batman. Like, I thought that several other voice actors really have a very, very unique, amazing take on that character voice-wise, and it's so weird to me that they get a guy who, it's like anybody could be doing the voice almost. I almost don't notice. Like, there's nothing impressive about that. The fact that they're continuously having him and continuously doing this New 52 universe, in particular with an adaptation of a comic, I don't see the point, and I don't want another. After they finish this Reign and Death of Superman series, I really hope they move on from this New 52 DC animated universe. Again, as much as I've loved it and think that a lot of great stuff has come out of it, I'm done with it personally.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Like, after the whole, Death and Return, I think it's time to move on. Maybe go into Rebirth, and maybe when they start doing that, they'll reboot it again. So, who knows? But
every 10 minutes, we'll just get a Rebirth.
Yeah, exactly. There's two little minor points I wanted to get into, like at the end with the Justice League, like at the whole funeral. Like they're all like, oh, and then the Justice League, we have to thank them for stopping Doomsday. They did absolutely nothing. They just got their asses kicked. And I thought it was just like comical, like how that worked out.
Yeah.
And on another point, they did a little homage to Superman the movie with "You Got Me, Who's Got You?" Like in the first Christopher Reeve movie. He picks up the helicopter, and I said it out loud. I was like, "You got me, who's got you?"
This is something Josh was just saying out loud quoting the movie, and then there it is. We had the subtitles on, and the subtitles said it before the guy said it. I was like, there it is. What's happening?
Yeah, I literally said it right before they had it in the movie. I was like, oh, that was good. So those are two little things I wanted to add to it.
That's cool.
Yeah, Dan, do you have anything you want to?
No, I mean, it was a cartoon. There was a lot of stuff that made it a cartoon, like logical cartoon logic that just sort of doesn't make any sense. And so I think that it's a lot of fun to watch. And like it was good watching it with like your friends and what you can sort of watch in your living room and talk.
Right.
But it wasn't like a cinematic experience that you want to go to like the
No, you wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't like say like there's like only one day to release like they did with The Killing Joke to watch this in the theater. I would just say just watch this at home. It's not like really necessary.
You have a real good time watching it at home.
Yeah,
with your friends and stuff.
Yeah,
it's a good movie for that.
Yeah,
it's a great movie for that.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I definitely would recommend watching it if you get a chance. It was I give it a solid B+.
Yeah,
right.
And if you've never seen, if you've never read Death of Superman or, any of that, read it or watched the other one. I think there's another movie, right?
There is another,
Superman Doomsday.
Yeah, this is the one to watch, I would say. Like, this, if you want to just watch this movie.
I would say this one's better.
The best sort of version of it.
Yeah, I would say this one's better than Doomsday.
Except I do like... in Doomsday, in the comics, as Brainiac is responsible for his reincarnation or whatever, right?
I know it's really weird.
In this one, the tomb just sort of opens and he's flying. I don't know.
They'll probably allude more
in the next story.
We'll get,
a little bit more.
We'll get more of the answer with that. I'm curious how they're gonna pull that off, but they definitely did. Set up Superboy and Hank Henshaw. So that'll be pretty interesting to see in the near future. So so go check it out.
Go check it out.
Do it now.
It got me more interested in the universe, and I might go back and watch some of the earlier stuff. So
you should watch it all. I recommend all of it.
Yeah,
it makes me want to watch it all. So that's good. A movie that does that's good. I also get obsessed easily with different mythologies, so this was a good introduction.
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Oh, and by the way, credit where credit's due. I talked about Jay Oliver before. He's the guy who a lot of what this new 52-based DC animated universe we're talking about right now, and again came up through the Young Justice show. Through his character designs and animation work, and he's big on the action. So a lot of that action that we talked about, that is thanks to Jay Oliver, and in terms of history, while we might not be the biggest fans of kind of the style of these movies, we have very much been praising the action. And to get a little more into that, and specifically with Jay Oliver, I went to a panel and I saw the Batman Bad Blood movie live, or I should say live. I saw the world premiere of it like in the theater at the Paley Center up in New York. And after that, there was a live panel with Jay Oliver, who directed that, and with some other people who did character designs, I think, or maybe storyboarders, whatever it was. And then there were 3 of the cast members. One of them he played Nightwing, and I forget his name in real life, but it's Simon Tam from Firefly, the show Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
That's the voice of Nightwing. Fucking knocked it out of the park, by the way. Really, really good performance. That's a fun movie too. It's not perfect. It's got its moments of not great, but it's fun. It's because it's an interesting one. Anyway, Jay Oliver was at that, and I was like nerding out so fucking hard, like being that close to the people who have been making these animated movies because I love them so much. And yeah, so I just wanted to say, in real life, that guy is, at least at a panel, a really nice guy, really smart. Because panels are kind of, it's not the easiest thing to do, those panels, because you're talking on the spot. A lot of people can't do that. They're, especially artists in particular, don't always want to or feel, they're not going to be as verbal, let's say. Like, this is how I express my mouth. That's why I do podcasting, because I can't draw for shit. So it's cool for a very visual guy to, like, get on a panel and be so nice and be so smart, be very articulate. He did some of the storyboarding for Batman v Superman. Say what you will about maybe the story of that movie. The movie looks fucking incredible, and the action that we did see, really good. So yeah, he's a really nice guy, and I just want to share my experience at that premiere. It was a lot of fun, and anytime you can go to those premieres, they're a lot of fucking fun, and it's really cool.
Well, Dan, while we're working on this podcast this whole time, I think you should share with the audience what you've been drawing this whole time. I don't know if you could really see that. We're kind of like... Oh,
wow. Look at that.
Kind of covering it.
You've been drawing that the whole time?
Yeah, that's what he was doing. So
I have a little bit of inspiration.
Yeah, he had a super inspiration. But,
Look at you. Holy shit. Yeah, for the audio listeners, he was just showing us... oh my god! And he just did a logo, a title treatment for the podcast, BatYard Productions.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to figure. We're trying to figure out a new logo for the name because it's kind of hard to see from a distance the name. So yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was a title treatment of your channel, not the podcast, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'll leave that to your graphic designer.
Yeah. That'll be really cool. But yeah, I mean, Dan does a bunch of different art drawings and everything like that. You should definitely check him out on Instagram. What is it? Pronouns? What's the number?
Yeah, I mean, if you look up Daniel Danger Chester on Instagram, you can find all my art.
Yeah,
and you should.
Nice. And you are another artist who can who likes to talk and can speak very well.
Yeah, there you go.
Anytime, and I don't mean it in a weird way. I just, when I reach out to artists, because I do for the show, like a lot of comic book artists and other people, I almost never expect a response. And not to say because I expect them to be shitty. I am positive, but it's just, I feel like the fucking work that artists put in, there's no substitution for it. I feel like writers can get away with so much more laziness and not practicing and not putting in the time and work. Like, art is exactly what you see, and exactly what you see, you will tell anybody can look at a picture and go, that's fucked up, that's fucked up, that's fucked up. People who listen to my podcast, I mean, you can be an asshole. Obviously it's perfect because I do it, but no. But it's just the things that I do are so even writing, I love to write and I put a lot of time into it, and it's I just give all the credit in the world to artists, and the fact that they talk to me at all, including yourself, I appreciate your time and all the hard work, because that fucking takes talent and time.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Dan's stuff is pretty good, so I definitely recommend checking him out. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Follow me on Instagram. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we were discussing maybe doing some art videos like in the near future. So maybe
right before we're we were both sketching and we were talking about doing some art videos.
Yeah,
so
that'd be fun.
Yeah, in the near future on BatYard channel near you.
Well, and as you know, if you ever want to draw some Batman Beyond shit, you got a place to talk about it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you share a lot of artists' work with Batman Beyond. I see all the time. You know, so I that's really cool that you do that.
Yeah,
so.
I try to do it every day. Sometimes I miss a day, but yeah, it's the hashtag Beyond Awesome Art. I always mean to plug it on the podcast. I never do. I really should. And I primarily artists that are on DeviantArt.com. Just because it's the easiest place for me to, like, when I Google search for Batman Beyond fan art, and to backtrack a little bit with it real quick, it's to promote fan art, not just comic art. Sometimes I'll post comic art. A lot of times I post comic art. Of course, I interview comic book writers and whatever. But, you know, professionals have their platform. I want to promote, you know, the fans, and some of the fan art is fucking, I'll say, better than maybe not the people I've interviewed, but some Batman Beyond books that I've read, like, there is better fan art out there. And so, yeah, go to hashtag Batman Beyond, Beyond Awesome Art. And then after that, I always write of the day because I try to do it every day. But, yeah, it's always fan art, and it's primarily for people from DeviantArt because that's the easiest place where I can track exact credit. So I always want to make sure I'm giving credit to the artist and not just being like, here's a nice image I found and I think it might be from some asshole in you know. I want to make sure it's like I know who it's from, and DeviantArt is all about giving their artists on their credit. So it's always anytime it's from DeviantArt, I put at DeviantArt after that. Point is, though, it's a really cool thing that I love to do, and I've seen so many cool artists, and I that's another thing. Again, not only do I not talk about it, and I should, it's on my list to start interviewing those people that I get on there, because fuck, like, it is a lot of, again, like I said, time, effort, and these are people who should just be making, like, animated movies. It looks so good. So yeah, check out and follow that hashtag.
Maybe you'll find some stuff from us in the near future.
Yes. No, send me anything you want. It doesn't even have to be Beyond related. If it's DC, whatever, I will post the shit out of it to my social media. Because, I mean, my social media, I know a lot of people, it seems like Instagram, some people are like, I never repost. And they have rules and shit with their own profile. I get that to an extent because, you know, we were talking before about at Saturday Morning Batman. That is his primary media of expression. That's what he, like... It's like if all of my podcast was located on Instagram, right? So you don't want to, in the middle of that, throw in a post that kind of doesn't necessarily, like, so some people, they keep it like purely, or they'll only, you know, post things that are not related in their story, shit like that. They kind of want to keep but for me, it's like, what I do is not visual. It's everything. It's literally, that's the point of the show, is to promote visual storytelling, writing. I talk about writing all the time on that show, just all of it. And I'm not a visual person myself, which sounds lazy. So I have to use other people's visuals, and I will use the shit out of your visuals if you send them to me to use.
It's a good way to get your name out there.
Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, like, you know, if I'm ever doing something like I want to promote BatYard or I want to promote somebody else, usually I'll draw a picture, you know, of it and be like, here you go.
Yeah.
You know, so then it still is my art, you know, but it also is representing something. Maybe it's something that's happening in my life, or, like, you know, something I want to promote.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So,
and that's why I want to reach out to why I'm big on finding who's credit to the artist, and then also eventually actually interviewing these people to really give them an extra platform of, like, if I'm going to post your shit and people like my page because of you, really, then I need to give those people extra credit.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. You know, keep it equilibrium there. Yeah,
because the internet, I mean, it's a place of stealing, and we all have to be honest about that. You know, it's a weird time now of, I have a show called Above and Batman Beyond. You know, I don't own fucking Batman or Batman Beyond, and I could, at any point, Warner Brothers could send me a cease and desist letter, and that's it.
Above it.
What's that?
But you're above it.
But yeah, no, the point is, it's like if you're going to steal, which everybody seems to kind of be okay with in the time we're in, you have to give credit. That's all. Yeah, so in wrapping up, this was really fun. Again, it's the name of the show is BatYard's Finest, bringing you the finest, or giving you the finest of Batman and Superman and pop culture. Excellent work, Josh. Oh yeah, that could be another one. Becoming super friends one day at a time.
I like that.
Or one episode at a time.
Yeah, right. We'll iron out the slogan until we get it pitch perfect.
But yeah, just in closing, since it's been 3 hours since we fucking began here, for people listening, again, primarily what we're going to talk about on the show, as it sounds, is Batman and Superman and pop culture. And that covers, similar to my Above and Batman Beyond show and your BatYard Productions, you guys seem to kind of cover it all, and your interests cover it all. So that's pretty cool. But mostly I'd say what we're going to cover is animation, movies, TV, comics more than welcome. Please send us questions, comments. For now, send it to the social media that we currently have for our own channels, just because we haven't set that stuff up yet. But yeah, we are, I mean, at least send them to me. I don't know how you guys feel. I've been doing questions recently. I started a Q&A segment on my show. I've been fucking loving interacting with the fans. So how would you guys feel about doing something like that?
Yeah, no, we're totally open for fans. Questions, comments, concerns. Please send them over to us.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so for email, if you choose email, it's going to be batmanbeyondpod@gmail.com. To send me anything via social media, it's going to be at Batman Beyond Podcast on Instagram, at Batman Beyond POD on Twitter, or batmanbeyondpodcast.com. You can find the podcast. You can find a message thing through there as well. And again, my name is Benjamin David. You can also find me on Instagram, my own personal profile, at Benjamin of David. And finally, the comic book INTL. That's important to bring up because that's where you're going to find clips of this very show that you're watching or listening to now on the comicbookintl.com YouTube channel. You can find us on Twitter at comicbookintl.
Yeah, well, you can find us at BatYard Productions on Facebook, BatYard Productions YouTube, and BatYard Productions Instagram.
The easiest way to get in contact with us is probably Instagram.
Yeah, I would say
Facebook.
so. Yeah, definitely Facebook too. But and you can check us out, TeePublic, user BatYard Productions. Check out our T-shirts and our merchandise, and let us know in the comments down below what you kind of want out of the show, what you want us to check out next, if you got any comments, concerns.
All right, guys, so we hope you liked our first installment of BatYard's Finest, bringing you the finest in Batman and Superman and pop culture. My name, once again, has been Benjamin David. We already plugged our shit. You don't want to hear more plugs, do you? Do you guys want to hear more plugs?
Yes! No!
All right, so you can find the show in audio form on our comicbookintl.com YouTube channel, because our show is part of the comicbookintl.com network, along with my Above and Batman Beyond podcast. But you're going to find the show in full video form on the BatYard Productions YouTube channel. It's going to be youtube.com/BatYard Productions. But you will find video clips, like I said, on the comicbookintl.com YouTube channel, and the audio not only on the comicbookintl.com website, but on SoundCloud and iTunes as well. So be sure to subscribe to all that shit that I just told you about, because that was a lot.
Please be sure to do that. That would help us extra.
Take notes.
Yeah, take notes, children. No, that'll be great. Thank you for all of you for listening and giving us your time. And
thank you.
And we'll see you on the next episode of BatYard's Finest.
But yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, fans. Thank you, listeners and viewers. And again, as Josh said before, please let us know what you think. I feel like I get a lot of listeners of my other podcasts and a lot of people viewing my YouTube. Maybe not a ton on the YouTube, but still a lot of people that are watching who are not commenting. So please, you're the people who, if you tell us, I literally just started a segment today, recorded the whole thing called Beyond Q&A, or whatever I'm going to end up calling it ultimately. But I just started a new segment of my show because a fan said, hey, can you do a Q&A segment? And I said, yeah, you got a question? And now it's part of the fucking show.
Oh, that's perfect. I Yeah.
So
if you guys got questions and we'll definitely answer them. I think that'll be a nice closer if we got questions, and we'll definitely answer them at the end of the show. I think that'll be really cool.
Answer some questions.
Yeah. If you guys got questions, we'll definitely, let us know, and we'll definitely be sure to answer them at the end of each podcast if possible. So, thank you, fans, and be sure to watch all our content. And
and check out Superman, Death of Superman.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Recommendation all around. So, yeah.
One more thing we wanted to mention to you guys. We are going to be at the Boston Fan Expo. It's the 10th through the 12th, but I'm going to be there August 11th. And these gentlemen here also might be there as well. If they are not, either way, you're going to get BatYard's finest coverage from Boston Fan Expo. Jim motherfucking Lee's going to be there. A smallish name, in DC Comics, just one of those throwaway names who created basically what people think of as Bat Religion comics-wise. I might actually pay the $99 to meet him. You get some stuff signed. I might do it. So, yeah, check out Above and Batman Beyond at Batman Beyond Podcast, and check out BatYard Productions. You're going to see some Boston Fan Expo coverage from there.